Hello and welcome back to the Morning Skate Podcast. I am your host, DJ Mitchell, here with Matt Moody to go over a 16 game, really 13 game slate. I kind of thought there'd be like an offering for the first three games, but there really isn't. So we're going to very, very briefly discuss them. But Matt, how was your weekend? How are you doing on this wonderful Monday to record before Frozen Frenzy?
Weekend was good. The weekend was terrible. Good in the sense that, real life was good. Terrible in the sense that, just can't book a win anywhere in any format for any reason whatsoever. I even saw my best ball bags go down to zero in both football and NHL this week somehow. Like obviously football with Ayuk going down, that there goes, all of my teams pretty much had Ayuk. And the hockey stuff, I don't know what happened. All my players suck, and all the takes I had were bad. So you can check that out on the Discord if you want to commiserate. Mano puts together a lot of good stuff in there and shares it, so you should definitely hop in. This is a question I should have asked you, DJ. Are we actually live, or is this being recorded for posterity's purpose?
It's live.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
It says there's zero people, but it's live.
Well, yeah, obviously we did no promotion for it. We let zero people know this was happening at this time. So I just wasn't sure whether I should actually post the link or not.
Post the link. It'll be fun. Yeah, it's live. We're live here on the YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version, you can always check us out on YouTube. I did change the channel name and stuff. Maybe that's causing an issue, actually. I'd rather that than... No, I think it's probably fine. I'm going to look. I'm just going to look. There can't be zero people watching us.
Oh, there are definitely zero people watching us. Nobody said anything.
We got one like.
Oh, cool. It was probably me.
No, it's live. It's live. It is working. But
yes,
yeah, no, we
I
are.
understand it's working. Nobody
gonna go through. Monday night,
don't
everybody,
have time for this.
Is when we're recording this. Let's get to the action. All right. See, someone's here. We got a comment. Let's get to the action. Let's get into it. Because there is 16 games technically on the docket. It is a Frozen Frenzy, which means that ESPN Plus will have their Frozen Frenzy coverage. We talked about it a lot last year. I'm thinking I'm willing to just forego the conversation about what that is. Check it out if you want, and we will just have a recap before Thursday's show. Is that good?
Yeah. The ESPN Plus. Also, there will be games all night on ESPN, obviously in competition with the NBA tip-off. So that's the one fly in the ointment here for Tuesday night.
I'm very optimistic about the ESPN coverage. I thought that they really hit their stride and it finished very, very strong. And I'm excited to watch all of it tomorrow. I'm planning on getting home before the 6 p.m. game to just rip through as many as possible. So let's just really quickly, there's three games that won't be on the real DraftKings slate. I'm going to spend less than 2 minutes on these games. Washington at the Flyers to kick things off. Not anything of note right now. We're still waiting on Couturier news out of Philly, and the lineup seems to be a bit in shambles. Washington's been really good. Tom Wilson and that second line with Connor McMichael and Pierre-Luc Dubois has actually been very solid and worth looking at, but I'm not all that interested in that game. Game number 2, Wild at Panthers. We saw Joel Eriksson return to the lineup. He looked fantastic, but absolutely had no interest in getting me a point. The Florida Panthers played 10 forwards last game, and there's, we're just on Matt the Chuck watch at this point, so keep an eye on that tomorrow. I don't think he's expected back. I believe they said Thursday.
He's going to play.
Keep an eye on it.
Back.
He is going to play. Okay, so Matt the Chuck expected to play. That's how much research I did into this game. Panthers are home favorites, etc. Who cares? It's a 5.5. I think it's the lowest total on the entire slate as well, and not even on the main slate. So not a lot of interest. And finally, at 6:55, at the 5 minutes we couldn't get this game on the slate, Tampa Bay on a back-to-back goes to New Jersey. The Devils had all new lines, which included Palat, Hughes, Bratt, Timo, Hischier, Mercer, which it seems a lot better than the previous. They are not expected to have Luke Hughes or Brett Pesce in the lineup, and they're very optimistic he will be back by the end of the week. Anything else?
Yeah, the Devils game starts at 6:45, but whatever. I don't.
It says 6:55.
Where? I don't see that anywhere.
on DraftKings Sportsbook? Oh, that's probably when it locks.
Yeah, that's probably when the puck
It
drops
locks
10
it.
minutes
Okay.
after.
Yeah, they're 10 minutes behind and everything. That makes sense actually. The game is 10 minutes behind. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What
Yeah,
are you gonna say?
because the NHL is a really cool league where you tune into a game, at 7 o'clock and the game doesn't start till 7:10. Just like, just this league, man. This league.
You got to sing and dance. They got to sing and dance.
Yeah. So, obviously we're doing this at 7 p.m. on Monday night, so there are there's one back-to-back team on the DraftKings slate to keep an eye on, and then also Tampa, of course. We're just gonna rip through things in sequential order. So do you just want to kick things off with Dallas Buffalo? I mean, the contests are pretty normal. There's nothing really special about this slate. I will say,
Yeah.
just thinking about it, the qualifiers are posted for the Fantasy Hockey World Championship. I don't think they're going too quickly out of the lobby. Like they're not just being snap filled or anything like that. So you don't need to worry about that too much. But as we get closer to the end of the year, those tend to get more interest. So do keep an eye on those if you're of the upper tier in terms of bankroll and just volume and want to chase it. And if you don't really know what it's like, I did write in my newsletter last year what my experience there was like. It was a lot of fun and was very much in line with my Nashville experience from 3 years ago now. So
Okay.
just a little plug there for the Fantasy Hockey World Championship qualifiers. Looks like a pretty similar prize pool to last year, though it's not official yet.
Yeah. As mentioned here by Dooley as well, Underdog has the slate up already. It is a flatter payout structure, 67 max, still a 2K up top, but 1,500 to second, 1K to third, which is pretty cool. Definitely 13 games means that there's a lot more options out there. I would say not that much will really change for me. I'll still try to do some, correlations and whatnot, but I don't think that, the winner could definitely be an uncorrelated mess of multi-goal games and what those, just, I don't know. Any thoughts there before we move into mainly DraftKings talk? I'm going to draft a team right now and I'll give a
No,
recap at the end.
I genuinely have no idea what you were saying. I just kind of
The
tuned you
underdog
out
slate.
trying to.
Okay, whatever. We got a question as well. I'll
Just
pull it up for you.
on the underdog slate, just stack the good players on teams. Like if you take the best player on a team and their second best player is viable, just consider taking them because not many people will do it. The projections will, the auto drafters, projections, donkeys. Yeah, you'll get a lot of uncorrelated messes, but odds are scores won't be that high on underdog. So like just getting that correlation is, I think, just a way to vault yourself to the top, and you can afford to, not get every goal scorer on the slate. If there's 6 2-goal scorers on the slate, you're not going to need 5 of them to win. Like you're just not. So, getting the correlation, I think, is far more important on these larger slates, even though there's a lot more options. So, yeah, I don't know. Like you don't need to take Nick Foligno if you draft Connor Bedard, but like just be smart about it.
Yeah. There's only one back-to-back on the actual slate. The question here is about how we account for back-to-backs. Does it reduce time on ice and whatnot? I mean, not a ton.
No.
It can, I guess, in theory, and but it's not. Yeah, especially early in the year. What were you gonna say?
No, that question probably stems from the NBA, where it's a pretty big deal, and there's a lot of risks and whatnot. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a genuine question. But generally speaking, treat a back-to-back the exact same as a normal game. The Vegas odds are gonna be against that team relative to if they were fully rested, but you're not gaining any real edge on you're not gaining any edge on a projection or sports book or whatever based on it. The one thing to note is that you're not getting info throughout the day via the morning skate. So you're going to need to be plugged into, Toronto, for instance. If they lose 7-0 tonight, anything's on the table for tomorrow. It could be Matthews with Nylander or whatever. Like that's the only thing I think you need to worry about. Everything else will sort of be accounted for in your projections or in the Vegas odds you look at or anything of that sort.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you could make a similar argument for just the LA Kings situation of not playing a single home game yet as you could for Toronto on a back-to-back at Columbus. But let's get into the game. So we're going to be here all night, and we'll get to the question about the Columbus Blue Jackets. But the first game, as you mentioned, is the Dallas Stars at the Buffalo Sabres. It is a minus 155 for the road Stars in Buffalo, plus 130, I guess, on the Sabres, if you're wondering. 6 over under, minus 102 on the over, so shading towards that under 6. Dallas has been sensational. They're incredibly deep. They have a ton of incredibly good hockey players on, I would say, all 4 lines, really, but especially the top 3.
Yep.
It's a tough matchup for Buffalo. What do you think about for the Stars?
Holy shit. I just got an update that Debo was hospitalized due to pneumonia. Holy shit.
He was really sick, I guess. I did find that. I would have to get into the Debo being sick thing during the game, but it was.
I was just kind of floored by the update. Dallas, they got ran over by Edmonton for the first half of the game. And then Jake Ottinger was like, don't worry, guys, I got you. In the second half, Dallas they went Globetrotters on Edmonton. Like, they didn't stand a chance. So, certainly going into Buffalo, not overwhelmingly like, oh yeah, you need to jam in Stars because they're mostly a defensive force, but these prices do feel pretty low. It's noteworthy that Wyatt Johnston moved down to the third line and Stankoven to the top line. Basically, the Hintz-Robertson duo just gets a new partner. So that's a bit of salary relief as well. Obviously, Stankoven's a really good prospect as well. With a rather similar sort of outlook to Wyatt Johnston, like from a macro sense. Any of these lines are imminently stackable. I'm expecting Tyler Seguin back. He practiced with his friends today in practice, but that's not officially official. Otherwise, nothing really to it. The prices are generally low across the board. It's just a matter of which stack do you pick, because there's a lot of good ones. Anything else you wanted to say about Dallas?
No, I mean, it's
my guess is we'll come back to Robertson at 6,400. Just sort of once we compare him to the rest of the slate, because that stands out, obviously.
It's definitely one of the situations where it does feel like this is way too cheap for Dallas, but I do agree that, I don't think they ever want to actually get into a situation where they're just completely rolling over teams 6-0. Like, they have so many lines to roll, and it just doesn't seem necessary. I don't know. I think I'm going to fade them and hope that they're chalkier, but it's such a big slate. Whatever you want to do in this world, I'm sure I'll be totally fine. But I think I'm fading this entire game out of my equation. We can get over to Buffalo, where it's I guess, you look at a price like JJ Peterka at 5,800 with the way he's been playing, and you think that seems good. It's just really hard to stack around him, even with Dahlin at 5,500 in this matchup. It just feels too expensive against the Dallas team that I just kind of cross out whoever's playing them in every slate.
Yep. Totally agree. The Benson Zucker power play situation is weird. We expect Benson to play, but he was rotating with Greenway. And if, that happens, there's a new power play 2 guy. Who the hell knows? This team is still a rudderless ship. And the only thing really worth noting is if Dahlin continues to fall in price, I'm not expecting Dallas to be where he totally snaps out of it. But Ruff has said that Dahlin's playing at less than 100% and that he's getting healthier every day. So theoretically, both the minutes and the rates should improve for Dahlin, though he's been pretty terrible in every respect so far this year. So not really anything to get excited about on this biggest slate.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting excited, how about the Montreal Canadiens hosting the Rangers?
Yeah. Was that your doorbell?
It was, yeah.
Cool. Not a ton of excitement. It's a 6 over under, minus 115 on that over. It's a big Rangers, minus 218. I think this Rangers team is fine. I mean, Panarin right next to me here, the cover boy. He's 9,100. He's been an absolute force. It really does feel like it's a situation where it's like I bet you can't do it again. And he's like, what'd you say? And he's doing it again. I think he'll be played at 9,100. It feels... Again, I mean, who was the one that was like, Panarin against Detroit, I'm all in. And now he's playing Montreal, and I'm like, but he is 9,100. And it's just really, really hard to stomach that price for what we just saw happen. Just happened. Is it going to happen again? Lafreniere, it seems like a true game time decision. He did practice seemingly in full. after practice, just didn't practice with the team. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Again, I think I'm just going to fade the Rangers. And again, I'm never playing Zibanejad, so I just don't even think about that line. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that on Panarin, I did a quick look at his numbers because I was just like, there's no way I'm gonna lose on the Panarin fade again this year, right? And obviously it's only been 5 games, so like take this for what you will. But pretty much his entire output has been on the power play. Now he has 5 points in 5 games at 5-on-5, but he only has 7 shots and 19 shot attempts. Like from a per minute basis, that's far more in line with his career. And like, he's an awesome player in his career, don't get me wrong, but he's not like the fantasy goblin monster superstar that he was last year in terms of like his shot rate. On a shots per 60 basis, he spiked from an average of about 7 up to 9.5 last year. And right now it's about 5.5, all at 5-on-5 through 5 games. So who knows? It's just that he's taking every single shot on the power play. And like, maybe he just does that forever because he is the primary puck distributor on that power play and Zibanejad is washed. So like, it very well could be a thing.
Right.
But I just wanted to at least point that out because Panarin last year was such an outlier that it doesn't seem like that is necessarily sticking. And that the price jump, the production to start the year, I just think that'll draw too much attention for my liking.
Exactly.
We've got every.
It's a good matchup too. I mean, like,
yeah, exactly.
Like Montreal have been really bad defensively. I don't know if I could overstate that enough. And I do think that it's like, if you want to reaffirm your priors and you were up slappy to begin the year on Panarin, you're going to continue. And there's nothing on the other side to make you feel differently.
Yes.
Let's get to the other side.
And on the other side, Slafkovsky is also a true game time decision. And they actually practiced so we should say for Lafreniere, they used Rempe like as a placeholder for him. So like, promise me this.
Right.
I will promise you this. Rempe is not playing with Artemi Panarin tomorrow night. So Lafreniere's in. The Montreal side, however, with the game time decision, they replaced him with Kirby Dach on that top line, and they slid up Oliver Kapanen to the second line. I think I said this last week. I'm like, Oliver Kapanen's a guy to keep an eye on. His prospect profile is stellar from obviously he played in the Liga. You can see over here on the right, he played there last year, was only 20 years old. He's not totally high pedigree. He was drafted 64th a few years back. But his output in terms of both shots and points was stellar relative to players of a similar age over the Liga past 6 years. So like, he's at least a player I'm keeping an eye on. And if he gets a second line role on any slate in any matchup, 2,500 center on his second line, second power play role is going to be in play just to open up some of the superstars in a stars and scrubs type build. So he's not like a lock by any means, but just wanted to note him because if you do need the salary relief in like an MME set, he does profile pretty well from a fantasy perspective if Slafkovsky misses. And then, of course, Kirby Dach at 4K would be a nice little I think that's a nice little discount. Let's just see how much Slafkovsky costs to
he's
be sure.
49, I think. 48.
Yep, 48. So
yeah. Just a couple stats about Montreal. I do feel like through 2 games, we're kind of saying like this is good and this is good, but not tonight. And it's like I think that the Sabres will provide a lot of value at some point. I think Dallas will provide a lot of value at some point. I think that stacking against Montreal will provide a lot of value. They've been the worst team at 5-on-5 so far this year. Again, very small sample size. Corsi against per 60, worst in the league. Corsi for percentage at 5-on-5, the worst in the league. Like every reason to play the Rangers is there. I just worry that even on this big of a slate that we're going to see enough ownership get to Panarin. And like, I'm just going to bet against it and hope that, if he fails, he sinks your lineup entirely. Like you're not winning anything. So, that's sort of the bet here. But again, there's nothing wrong with the play. I do want to point that out. It's like, it's a great play. Just, I also wouldn't say like, I can't afford Panarin, but I'll just play Trocheck and Fox or something. Like you play Panarin. You're not winning the slate without him if he gets there, if the Rangers get there.
Yeah, this is the season to date based on what Micah has over at HockeyViz. You can see Montreal here. Hanging out with the dregs of society in San Jose, Detroit, Anaheim. Not very good. So, to be expected based on the results to date. But
I just would much rather if this was like, if it was Detroit against Montreal, I actually would consider stacking Detroit because like everyone's off on Detroit. They're bad, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, yeah, they're bad, but no one's playing them against Montreal. And now I'm like, it's a 13 game slate. You could probably do whatever you want, but
Yep.
yeah, Lightning going to strike twice. We'll see. So game 3, Toronto is going to Columbus on a back-to-back. We kind of got a question about that. And then we got a question about Columbus. We'll start with Toronto, though. Again, as long as it's business as usual, which at this time we're going to assume the game hasn't even started yet, so they couldn't have done anything different. Matthews, Marner, Nyes, top line. John Tavares seems to be long gone. He's done nothing on the year. He's on the third line, still on the top power play with Pacioretty and Nick Robertson. It's whatever, but I do think the problem with Toronto is how do you stack them for success. I also don't think they're going to be overly played, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson still just probably too cheap at 4,200. So, are you thinking about maybe taking sort of the mind game of it's a back to back, and people will factor that in? People will say, am I going to pay this for Toronto? I could pay this for Panarin when it's a back to back. And I don't think it matters that much. It doesn't not matter at all. I just don't think it's as big as maybe the field might allow it to be.
Yeah, I mean, just for some context, McKinnon is 9,800 in Seattle. McDavid is 9,500 hosting Carolina. Matthews 94 in Columbus. Rantanen 9,300 at Seattle. Eichel hosting LA at 92, and then obviously Panarin. I've also got Pasternak, Makar, Brady above 8,500. All those players on the road, and also not great matchups either. So I wouldn't be surprised if Matthews got a little bit of steam as a result. But 13 games, what does that look like? 18% maybe. Yeah, it's a good play. I think if I'm playing Matthews, I am trying to stack him with one or both of Marner and Nyes, just because I think both still offer some pretty decent value. Marner's been on the rise a bit. Nyes is up to 4K. It's not ideal, but certainly cheaper than stacking around the other, the other sort of goblins on the slate who can put up 50 bombs, and you would not be surprised. It's probably the cheapest, getting this one around 20K. So I like that. I like the Ekman-Larsson call out. He's just been rock solid for them. But it's not overly exciting to me. The Columbus lineup is just not I don't know. Well, let's just any interest in a Punt or Pacioretty or Robertson or anything like that, or ready to move on?
Tavares is done. I just again what does that even really look
like?
Yeah,
sure. I mean, Domi,
you're just playing a one-off probably.
Yeah, sure. All these guys, McMahon, Domi, any interest there in this matchup, or just no?
I don't. Again, it's I think that at the end of the day, but the decision is, am I playing Matthews, Marner, and OEL? Maybe again, like you said, throwing in Nyes in that mix or not. And if I'm not, I'm probably building a pretty middle of the road type of team. So I just don't think I'm going to end up needing, a mini stack of 300 3K guys. This is not the way I'm going to go.
I should say, since I don't properly caveat this before every show, these 3 columns are based on last year's statistics. It's nothing to do with their projection or what's already happened this year. So account for that properly, in your viewing.
And so just to make one point on that, just one small point is last game, who led the team for defensemen in minutes? In minutes, I mean, it was Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He played the top power play. Last year, that was his problem. It wasn't that he couldn't get there in DFS. It was that he's playing 12 minutes and plays 14 minutes and power play 2, sometimes not even. And it's now he's actually solidified in the role. It's a good play. I mean, it's Goss to spare ass. We'll get to all of them. But again, I did want to point out that he was actually good and didn't get run, and now he's just getting that run. So we'll see what happens.
That's fair, and good call out for sure. All right, Columbus. They did a lot. Obviously, that top line was humming and getting more expensive. They did break it up. They made it a little bit cheaper by moving Sillinger to the top line with Monahan and Marchenko. That's still perfectly power play 1 correlated, of course. And they might get Joey Wall in his season debut if you care about goalies. He had I think a groin injury.
That's the plan, right?
So it's either that or a back-to-back Stolarz or Dennis Hildeby. So probably not the, again, I don't care about this personally, but just noting as we see it. Down the lineup, Fantilli, they quote, want to get him help. which I guess means Michael Batia come on down, but also Chinikov, of course, is definitely a good player. Does he do the things that will actually drive the play up and down the ice to support Fantilli? I'm not totally convinced of that, but I'll be honest, I have not watched much Columbus this year for my own health, so that's fine. Going down the lineup, it's just your typical boring defensive forwards. Aston Reese, Danforth, Olivier, perfectly fine defensive guys, but nothing there offensively. And then a fourth line that's imminently attackable, but Corrali's also a decent defensive forward with JVR and LeBanc just kind of being guys. So it's just a very uninteresting team. Like, I don't like losing offensively slanted players because it's not like they're being replaced with guys who just suck. Like, they're mostly being replaced with guys who suck offensively that are just sort of like defensive vacuums, and like their job is to make it a 1-0 loss instead of a 3-0 loss. And that just doesn't really make me excited about game environments.
I mean, the game environments have been really, really, really bad, and I know that a couple have got there, but they are, fifth worst at Corsi for per 60, and then they are fifth best, I guess, at Corsi against per 60. So it's like they're just playing boring on both sides of the ice, and no one on their team other than Werenski is actually shooting enough for me to feel like extra confident in their ability. And the fact that Chinikov would be that top guy after Werenski, now going with Fantilli, I just don't. I mean, again, those two are the top two guys at rates, in all situations per game. I guess you could like try to draw that line yourself. I just worry that line is not. None of them can support each other. Like Monahan, I think can support either one of them in a certain situation. Like I do think he actually has some talent and he can support Marchenko. I think that's the only way I'd go is that top line. I think people are going to try to convince themselves that Chinikov is this legitimate dynamic weapon that he just isn't. Like Monahan drives the bus there, and that's not a bus I want to get on.
Yeah.
Well, Werenski drives it. Monahan shotgun.
Yeah, that's a good call out. Just a punt. Damon Severson is going to play a lot of minutes. 2,700 just feels too low for a guy who's pretty solidified in the top 4 power play role. If you like Toronto, maybe that's a way to play it where just Severson's going to be on the ice regardless of whether they're winning or losing. So just a thought. But let's move over to Detroit and the Islanders. Let's start with the Islanders because the big news out of Long Island is the injury to Anthony Duclair. And that's a major, major problem, I think, for the viability of this stack, namely the top line. We're not sure what they're going to do with their power play. So obviously Duclair was holding down a power play job. Simon Holmstrom moves up to the top line to replace him, but he shouldn't get a power play job. Maybe he does, but I find it unlikely. And then, if anything, it's probably going to be Nelson or Palmieri moving to the top unit. I would say Nelson because of where Duclair was playing on the flank before. But in the preseason, Siplikov was also on that flank from time to time. And he certainly does profile as like a skillful shooter, more so than like a net front grinder like he was being used. And obviously Duclair was that same sort of perception. So not sure whether it's Nelson or Palmieri, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like, how do you feel about Horvat and Barzal now that they don't have their third man in Duclair, who looked like a perfect fit for them?
I know it's devastating. I mean, really devastating. Like that line was exactly what I thought it could be, and maybe more. It just hadn't quite completely come together yet, but it totally looked the part. Non-contact injury, Duclair, well, little bit of contact injury, but not really. And like he's going to be out for months, it sounds like. So really, really sad to see that. I think that if you're playing the Islanders in any capacity, Detroit's been terrible. We just talked about how bad they've been. It's not wrong. You're clicking on Noah Dobson. Like that's I guess the like if they're getting there, I think it's just Barzal, Dobson, and I think you just throw in Horvat. Unless if it's Tiplikov on the top line, which it could be. He was out there when they scored their only power play goal with. Yeah, we didn't see it. I doubt it.
We got to practice. We got to practice today with Holmstrom top line.
Talking about calling up. Yeah, I think it'll be Holmstrom. Yeah, it's just. I just don't think you need to overthink it. Like, not necessary. Everything kind of feels messy, other than those three being the again like the entire. It doesn't always happen, but like Horvat, Barzal, Dobson, it's a good mid-tier stack. I don't think it's going to get a lot of ownership, but I do think that losing Duclair is enough to maybe make me double, kind of think twice on it. Detroit can't be this bad forever, can they? Let's talk about them.
Do we have to? Just one other name for the
We
Islanders.
unfortunately, yeah,
I think Pollock moves on to the second unit. He hasn't been there, and so who knows? I'm just looking at these names between McLean. I mean, there's still a guy they need to call up. They sent down Gote actually, but it's they have Matt Martin skating as a placeholder. He's not even under contract with the team, so they're gonna call up a guy or two or someone who's not on this list to play. But I promise you, he also sucks. And it's Holmstrom, Cizikas. I just think Pollock goes on as a power play trigger man. He's obviously a guy who can get it done with block shots too. So sub 4K against Detroit, I have no problem with Ryan Pollock. Detroit, yeah, this team
yikes.
could be better, but they're just not. It's the classic Atlantic Division where if you don't start off 6-0, you're not making the playoffs anyway over Toronto, Tampa, Florida. And Boston, arguably, though they're looking kind of weak to start the year, despite winning. So, yeah, it's going to be uphill sledding all year. The prices, I think, are fair. The Islanders could be a mess without Duclair, though. Again, it's just replacing guys who are kind of fun with guys who are defensive, vacuums. So, whatever.
Exactly.
Not that interesting, but it's at least cheap. I should say, everywhere you look, it's yeah, that guy's pretty cheap for what he's been doing. Mo Siders, 5,600. I want to say, obviously, he's scored once, which will help that dramatically. But I want to say he's one of the best defensemen so far in the year. Yeah, he is D number 6 or 7 in terms of fantasy points per game, which is solid because he's just going to block 5 shots.
An absolute floor monster. Yeah, it's just if you're playing cash, I feel like he's. I mean, he has not gone below 10.8, and he has 3 points. It's pretty impressive stuff. I don't know. I mean, Detroit is very bad. The Islanders have been good defensively. Does Duclair make them worse defensively? Probably not. I just feel like this game got a little bit more boring, and I'm probably not going to play it. I think the only way I would play it is just Larkin, Raymond, Sider, and that would be if Sider is back to power play 1, maybe even without Raymond at 4,500 just feels like it's going to click at some point in a big way. He's had pretty good numbers. He shot the puck here or there. He has to be with Larkin. So if he's not with Larkin, it just isn't happening. And can Larkin carry this team? I think that's the problem here is that he can't. And they need a little bit more. And instead of getting Comfer and Sherratt and Petrie and Kopp and all these freaking guys that are not going to move the needle, they've just decided to be entirely average and try to force that to happen. And it just isn't.
Yeah.
A great player, but you can't.
Yeah, if I'm playing Larkin and Raymond, which I won't be, I think you got to play Tarasenko for 3,500. He's still a good player. He scored last game against Nashville with this line, or maybe not with those guys on the ice, but he scored last game. I don't know. I just don't see where Larkin and Raymond on a 13-game slate put up a had-to-have-it score, and you're just nah, 3,500 guy who's good with power play time. Just no, thank you. But we got to keep things moving here, so let's keep it going.
Right.
Into Winnipeg, the white-hot Winnipeg Jets headed to St. Louis. Top line is the top line. The second line is a value. And the third line is mega cheap and always smashes just when you don't think they will. Anything to add here?
Yeah, it does feel like
600.
They can't keep getting away with this.
What the hell's the line on this game? Hold
on. The line on this game is -155 for Winnipeg. It's a 6 over under plus 102, so a very low total.
Okay.
And Hellebuck is 7,600, so that he will be the chalk goalie of the night. No, I mean, again, it's just this Winnipeg team is good. They actually, they did give up a decent bit defensively last game, but absolutely ran over the Crosby line with everyone. It felt like so. Just I don't know. I mean, it's I don't think they're nearly as good as the media is all of a sudden catching on. And again, we started the year and last year, I mean, I was the Winnipeg Jets' biggest fan, and they started great last year. And again, this year, I'm they're much better than these prices. They're much better than this and that and the other thing. And Connor's my third highest drafted player and this and that and the other thing. And I don't think they're that good. I don't know if I'm playing them here. I get it for sure. Velarde doesn't touch the puck a lot, but I get playing him with this mix. This game, just again, it's like you're playing into a very low total game. I love the Jets. I would love nothing more for them to keep winning. I'd love to see them keep, do all the stuff. I don't know if they're putting up a GPP winner on this slate, but man, Kyle Connor's been every bit of the part that I hope he'd be. And I think if you're playing Winnipeg and you're thinking, ooh, let's just get back on the, the Ehlers, Perfetti bandwagon, like the problem with it in reality is they don't play a lot of defensive minutes. So if they get up, you are just praying for what happened against San Jose. And unfortunately, this isn't San Jose.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This 6,800 Mark Scheifele seems a little bit aggressive to me. Just a little bit.
It's a little bit aggressive.
I like the player, but I don't like him that much. So I'm relatively out.
Well,
I feel like with,
Yeah.
I mean, Hellebuck's, I think, going to be 20-25%, and like that's fine. But man, I don't know
Right.
if I can take like making my whole night on this slate going into a road team that's profiles like Winnipeg does, and yeah.
Right. Well,
Doesn't
I
sound
mean,
great.
what's the name of the game? A lot of times, the name of the game isn't to, and I think a lot of this podcast so far is like, don't play the team that already succeeded. Their prices have gone to the roof, and now they're hitting the peak of what their price should have been. And again, I was saying they were underpriced, they've gone up. It's finding the stacks that should be a lot better and have not been. And then why haven't they been good? Is there a reason to think they could be a lot better than they have been? That's how I play DFS. That's how I think you play to a large extent. So I don't think that's a good spot. I don't think it's a bad spot. It's just not a great spot considering the things I just said.
Yeah. Hey, just a note to the listeners out there: don't do what I do, and you might win. That's a good strategy. So jam in Winnipeg. Let's do it. On to St. Louis here.
I've had a sweater too.
Yeah. You've won an underdog slate. I have not. I have not won anything anywhere for any reason whatsoever. Brandon Saad still top line.
Can you say leverage?
Yeah. Bull Duke second line. I just noted this. Who cares? It's probably Turbo Slate relevant only, but Bull Duke and Texier were splitting power play reps for power play 2. There's nothing here that interests me. How about you?
No, I mean, again, it kind of is like in football when there's this lockdown against this receiver that no one's going to play now. And it's like, well, what if this one time, or what it kind of feels that way because Hellebuck's going to be uber chalk. No one's going to play the Blues. They're going to be even lower than you would expect. And I think Thomas and Cairo have slate breaking upside. So like, I get it, but it's not my favorite. I don't, I don't think I'm playing it. It's just, it's in play. You could play it. You're allowed to.
Yeah. Next game, I will keep trying to toss you softballs to just say no next game. But I will keep trying. So Vancouver.
I made a good point.
Yeah, sure. You make a lot of good points. We could do a 2-hour podcast full of your good points, but we're not trying to do that, are we?
Nicest thing you ever said to me.
Trust me, DJ, I listened to you talk more than enough. If I did not think you were making some good points ever, I would just not answer the phone. All right. Vancouver with Chicago. DeBrusk is on the top line. JT Miller and Besser. Miller missed practice. We're fully expecting him to play and be power play 1. So of note, DeBrusk did get moved off the top power play in favor of Connor Garland. That's noteworthy. The pricing is similar. But Garland and Pedersen are now 5-on-5 correlated, and they get Niels Höglander on their line. DJ, is tonight Elias Pettersson finally scores a freaking goal?
I mean, this is a situation where it's like, if you had told me to start the year, right? Go back, 0 games are played. Elias Pettersson is 6,100 at home, I believe, too. Not that it really matters, but why not, right?
Chicago.
Against Chicago. In Chicago. It doesn't really matter. And use it 6,100. I would have just been like, he's going to be 95% owned. Like, what are you talking about? 6,100 Elias Pettersson playing Chicago. What are we talking about here? People aren't going to play him. Like, I don't think people are going to play him. Like, I'm telling you right now, I will go get my Pettersson jersey out of the closet if I need to. I will be playing Elias Pettersson tomorrow, and I will be losing on Elias tomorrow, and then I'm going to probably play him again, and I'm going to lose. And I'll probably play him with Quinn Hughes. I mean, Quinn Hughes has 9.4 shot attempts per game through 5 games. There was a couple games in that mix where a lot of them came through. I'm not saying that every game has been this shining example of the top rates player defensively on the slate. He's not suddenly turned into Kale McCarr, but I do think he has that upside. I think that I will be playing a Bedard, Pedersen, Garland, Hughes stack with, again, Bedard on the other side, of course. He did not get traded. And
literally on the
that's
year,
going to be
Quinn
the way
Hughes,
the news is going to go.
Yeah, on the year, Quinn Hughes is the number 2 in terms of expected fantasy point output. He's not quite there in terms of the actuals, but
It's
like
wild.
you say, the shot rate is through the roof. So yeah, he's a very good play and depressed price point. I mean, we talked about McCarr. He's like 8,900 on this slate. Quinn Hughes is a value relative to some of the alphas here at defense, and there's some value too in the Vancouver front. Just wanted to call out, won't say his name. Being DJ's producer seems really rough. LOL. Thank you, DJ. Would you like to read his name for me?
The Concealer.
The Consigliere.
I'm going to change it every time
for your
now.
comment.
I got to say, I'm going to say it different every time. It's going to be my new bit. The Concealer. I mean, here. All right. So let me give 2 quick things about Pedersen. Okay. Because I'll tell you right now, he has not, like, the metrics do not say this guy should be scoring a bunch of goals. Like, he really has not been very good, but he has played more than any other forward in time on ice. He actually has been a little bit, like, he's been underperforming as expected. He has been a little bit better. Not good, of course, not good, but better. And the thing is that Vancouver is absolutely trying to get him going. They're putting him in better situations. I think it's only going to continue. And those better situations are playing him with Quinn Hughes a lot more than they did last year. So I do think it's a good correlation. I do think that, again, they get there together, and there's no reason to believe that Connor Garland couldn't come along for the ride. He's been great.
Okay. I'm on board. I'm on board with the Vancouver stuff. All right. Chicago, same old. Bedard, Teravainen are very priced up now, 8,200 and 5,300 respectively. Seth Jones is nearly 7K. Just too expensive for my liking. We're getting a Lucas Reichel sighting, this is a big Lucas Reichel podcast, but he's playing with Pat Maroon and Craig Smith. So, like, just move on. Nothing to see here. Anything you want to add?
Bedard's good at hockey.
Thank you. Very. Colorado at Seattle. Note that this game, even though it's on the West Coast, is at 8:30. Just another afternoon game in Seattle, but for ESPN privilege, I guess, because they just really wanted this game for who knows what reason. Colorado. Ross Colton has been pretty good, hasn't he? He's 5,500, McKinnon 9,800, and Rantanen 9,300. Mentioned McCarr at 8,800. This feels like a spot where you can one-off Ross Colton pretty comfortably, just given these prices. Now, is it likely you're fading a 25-point game for McKinnon, Rantanen, or McCarr? Probably, but can you replace that with other pieces of your lineup and Ross Colton still gets his 20 and you're fine? I would say so. So I'm pretty interested here. I imagine the pricing will keep people off of Colton a little bit. And that's just inappropriate. We know that in his career, he's been an awesome per-minute player, and now he's finally getting all the run you could imagine. So DJ, what are your Ross Colton thoughts here?
I've given a lot over the past couple betting slates where he's continued to be a printing machine, just bet his goal, bet his point, print. And then it's not going to last forever, but like is he a complete product of his parts? No. Is it a very big help that he has McKinnon and Rantanen are 2 of the best players in the world? Absolutely. Like, they bring up the best in everyone, but they can take, it's like, they can take a bad player and make him look okay. They can take an okay player and make him look good. And they can take a good player and make him look great. That's what we have here. I think we have a good player, especially on offense, and they can make a good player look great. And like, that's just what we have here. So he's definitely underpriced. He's definitely one-offable, definitely cash viable if you're a sociopath and you play NHL cash games. Not a lot more to add other than that here. You just can't stack Colorado.
On the season per game. And now obviously Colton played, I think, 1 or 2 games without these guys. But on the year, 6.6 for 6.3 for Makar, 6.3 for Colton, 6 for Rantanen, and 8 for McKinnon shot attempts per game. Like he's right in line with these guys. He's getting fed looks on the power play. Like there's really no reason to think the gravy train stops here. So
It is.
it's still a good price.
Honestly, it almost looks like if you watch Reinhart score on the power play last year, it seems like they're like, what if we just put Colton there? And then we make McKinnon skate around, and then everyone moves, and then they just pass it to. It looks the same. I mean, and again, that's the point of like all of like that's like the just like
it's that legendary Kadri role just filled by a player who's actually a sharpshooter now, rather than the Lekkonens of the world who are good players. Trust me, I love Arturi Lekkonen, but Colton I think is actually a sharpshooter, and so big fan of what he's done so far. The Seattle side, obviously, Colorado has no depth to work with, so you're probably at least potentially getting some Seattle values here. Just noting some power play trickery that's been ongoing. McCann, Eberle, Stevenson, Montour, Beniers will be their top power play. McCann, Wright, Eberle remains their top line. Schwartz, Stevenson, Bjorkstrand is their second line. You'll note that is not correlated at all on power plays. And then Tolvanen, Beniers, Burakovsky, with the Tolvanen, Burakovsky pairing being power play 2 correlated. It's kind of a mess. I don't mind a power play 1 stack here, something like Beniers, McCann, Montour. Just kind of hoping that Colorado just can't stay out of the box. I don't know what they're going to line match either. Like, is it going to be, Stevenson versus the big guns, or is it going to be Gord? I think it'd be one of those 2 lines. So I think you're definitely safe on lines 3 and 1. So I don't mind that just because they're pretty cheap for what they offer.
I think I just go skinny here and say McCann, Montour, but like I certainly could see why you throw in Wright or Eberle in that mix, but I don't think you even need to get carried away on this slate. Like, but like Montour is like that's the guy. That is the guy you're saying. Like, if you're stacking, and again, like I do see a scenario where if you actually had no money left and you were like, I'm playing Tolvanen and Riker Evans, I'm not going to say you're an idiot, but like if you're playing Seattle and you're playing anyone that's on that top power play without Brandon Montour, I think you've done it wrong. He has 8.67 shot attempts per game.
It's awesome. I mean, he's just been chucking, and Vince Dunn is still going to be out. It sounds like so. That's why he's even more in play. All right. One other thing in this game, we're on goalie watch in Colorado. I checked. Kakinen is 7,700 if he gets his first start. So Annunen had a pretty good game. So 79 for him. Whatever. Just wanted to check if it was going to be a 6,500 goalie, and it won't be. Or obviously it could be Gorgiev too, but he's not going to be a 6,500 goalie. Though maybe he should be the way he started the year. Boston in Nashville.
I will. We can. I was going to say that it's almost a pick 'em for that Colorado Seattle game and a 6.5. I just wanted to kind of point that out that like it's the books are respecting Seattle 1 and they're also saying like this game could have goals. So it's one to keep an eye on so far. The highest total we've ranked second to Toronto, but we can get to a game with a lower total and Nashville a favorite at home against the Boston Bruins.
The winless Predators, like just incredible stuff out of these guys. Boston has been pretty bad. They just are shooting like 12% or something to start the year, so it hasn't really hurt them. I have no interest in this team. They all feel really expensive for what they offer. So I don't know if you want to talk to me about Mason Lowry or whatever. I would have it. I don't know what the lines are going to be either. I just kind of threw in. I think this is 2 games ago now, but just not excited about this whatsoever.
No, I would love to play Nashville if possible. It feels difficult. I don't have any interest in playing Boston. It's not undoable though. Like again, like when do you want to play a team? And it's probably when they get priced down. They've continued to fall in price. Philippe Forsberg down to 7,800. I mean, again, he was 7,700 last slate, but down from 85 to start the year. Roman Josi, as I think more or less stayed the same. It's the exact same price from opening night. But like, I just don't think there's going to be much ownership at all here because it's expensive enough that it takes away from taking other expensive pieces, of course. But like,
and it's Boston.
it's a classic case of And it's Boston, and people will just naturally respect them more than they should. And like they'll just see Swayman's in net, they'll say, "Oh, that's a good goalie," and it's like, yeah, Swayman's never given up 5 goals. You know what I mean? Like, I would say that I'm going to be playing that way on this slate, where it's Pettersson situation, Forsberg, Yossi situation. That's the most interesting to me.
Yep. Stamkos is coming off of a real good game. So 6,400 for that, I think,
you got
is
the
also
power play wrong, but
yeah, I did not update the colors. You're right.
It's okay. Yeah, I don't think Sissons is taking Stamkos' spot, but
no,
no, I mean Stamkos has been again. It's like the thing is every player on this national team has been better than their output. I don't think you could. It'd be difficult to. I mean, I'm sure there is literally one, but like they've all been incredibly
Tommy Novak
good at
is averaging 6.6. Yeah. No.
You mean line 4 center Tommy Novak that people were like, actually Tommy Novak could lift Stamkos and Marchessault, and we're just like, but yeah, it's just a situation where I could see things going right at the right time, and that time, if you are right on it, this is going to be a situation on a 13-game slate where you take all the money, especially if you could get a nice stack around it to lift it a little bit higher. But yeah, Forsberg, underperforming output. Stamkos, really underperforming output. Yossi, you just go down the list and you get to a point where you're like, oh, so every player has been unlucky. These are not guys that have just all of a sudden forgotten how to score. The Monstars didn't come through and steal all their power. Like, they're still good at hockey. They just have been very unlucky. And I'm going to be, betting on them to break right no matter who they're playing.
Yep. Totally agree there. So these lines are at practice today, by the way. So there shouldn't be any changes to the line combinations beyond what you see here. Carolina, Edmonton. Edmonton rolling out new lines. What's old is new again. The Draisaitl, Skinner, Arvidsson, just goon squad is coming through. Just no defense to be found here. That leaves RNH, McDavid, Hyman on the top line. I think you know the drill. The main players are the main players. Nugent Hopkins is 4,300, which is interesting. But just play that with McDavid and maybe add a Bouchard, and you're cooking. It's totally fine. Maybe more interesting is the Carolina side. So anything you want to say about this game?
I kind of make it a point every year when Edmonton plays Carolina to stack Edmonton. I don't think I'm doing it. It's just unnecessary. I think on a smaller slate, I would absolutely do it. But
I want to say Svechnikov scored his only hat trick of his career in Edmonton.
It could be right, honestly. It's one of those things where it's like the Carolina just feeling of like they just dominate everything. It's like, yeah, they do, but like McDavid's different. It's kind of always my feeling. And like I try to grab him at the lowest ownership possible, which I do think he'll be one of his lowest ownership of the year, not only because they're playing Carolina, but it's a 13-game slate that adds a little bit. Of course, there's more options. I just don't know if I'm going to get there. Feels unnecessary. I think if it was Draisaitl McDavid, I'd actually have more interest, surprisingly enough, just because I really think you could, kind of build something special there. But I just think Hyman's not very good, and I'm just not going to do RNH or Hyman, and that's the way the news goes. But yeah.
Okay. I just looked into it because something was sticking out about Svechnikov and the Oilers. He had 2 hat tricks against them in the 22-23 season. They only played twice, so just just kind of cool. But anyway, Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis are super cheap. I would expect them to be thrown out against the McDavid line. So like it kind of isn't totally fun, but also again not the end of the world either. But Marty Necas for 4,200 feels like a lot of fun. Just it's very much like Winnipeg. The minutes are going to be a concern, but in this case, Necas is a full 1,000 cheaper than Ehlers is, and I would say the matchup is equally as good defensively because you look at Edmonton's depth, and again I'm not afraid of the second line at all. You've got Ryan, Henrique, Connor Brown, Podkolzin, Janmark, Corey Perry. Like we know what this Edmonton team is. So I like Necas as a one-off for sure. You can mix him in with Shane Gostisbehere, who's been very good. He's been priced up to 4,400, but honestly for 22 minutes of Shane Gostisbehere and power play 1, that seems pretty fair to me. And if that sticks, we don't really know. They've only played 4 games so far, and he scored in 3 of them. But in all those games, he's played less than the 22 minutes he played opening night. So like, it's hard to know what to make of it. But yeah, I think there's some upside here, and obviously the top line being freaking 16K makes sense. 17K makes a lot of sense too.
I agree. I definitely think I lean to the Carolina side, and I like the way you're kind of looking at it, because while that Carolina 2-man is really good, people are absolutely going to play Ehlers and Morrissey way more, and it's significantly cheaper. And it's not, I don't think, all that projectably different. We can move over to Ottawa at the Utahians. You have Ottawa up right now.
Yes.
I feel like Ottawa's just this team that every night I look at and I think there's something here. I don't know what it is. And I like the matchup. I think, again, it's kind of a situation where I keep saying I'm going to bet against Utah and I never do. But we should probably be betting against Utah more than we are. They're fine. They do lose Jersey for probably the year, if not, the majority of the year. Very sad to see. But like, this is, again, still the Arizona Coyotes with they're better. They got a year older. They picked up a couple pieces. They've been somewhat exciting. They've been somewhat relatively good advanced metrics wise. I still don't think that, you go back a year ago and you said Ottawa's at Arizona. I think you would have really given Ottawa quite a good look, and people aren't going to do that here. And I do think Ottawa's actually has some exciting pieces. So how would you play them is the question.
Yeah, I think it starts and ends with the top power play unit for me. Jake Sanderson's been everything. He team blocks in 5 games, and like that's not his most impressive part of his output. He's got 6 shot attempts per night over that stretch, and he has 7 points. Like, so that's definitely underpriced for a player who, again, I clicked the wrong thing. Okay.
3rd overall pick.
Yeah, 5th overall pick, has really solid college numbers before coming over and obviously impressing in the NHL. So like, this is every bit what you'd expect of his growth. And so playing him, it just feels like a given if you're stacking Ottawa, and then you get some value in Norris and Batherson. And then of course, Brady Tkachuk's one of the elite rate monsters on the slate. So those 4 plus Stützle, I think you could play all 5 of them if you really wanted to. Like, I'm not really scared of anything here. So definitely like that. Ottawa.
No, I honestly, underutilized, but like overstacking on a 5-game slate, underutilized.
Yeah. Yeah, no, again, you're not going to need the nuts to win on a 13-game slate. Like, you're going to need good scores, and like, but again, if they score 6 goals, one guy can foul and you can still be fine. So, it's not the end of the world. We're seeing that in NFL and other sports. And so the larger the slate, the more likely it is that like just ownership goes to players who don't do well. Just because not every player is scoring 15 DraftKings points every night. So yeah, I like that. On the on the Utah front, their matchup is still fine as well. It's just the pricing's kind of caught up to it. You could argue that a Valimaki or Kesselring can be mixed in with like a Gunther Cooley or something to kind of keep things low. But like, I don't know, I'm not spending 18K for a top line of Utah. So that's just not something I'm interested in. But any interest here from you?
No, I definitely like the call on the cheap defenseman, like we said, Jersey out long term. So someone's going to get that bump. I think Kesselring has been more of a rates blocks kind of guy and kind of consistently seen the minutes. Valimaki has been a point producer, but not a rates guy, and is getting the minutes now. So it's like you can draw, that conclusion. I love the mid-tier defense. There's not a lot of cheap options. Those are definitely the top 2. They're not going to see Marino back. They're optimistic he's a couple weeks away, but they don't sound all that optimistic at all. So we'll see. I can't imagine clicking on 7,700 Clayton Keller. Just it feels like it's doing too much damage for what you're getting out of him, which is a good player, but like not, in my opinion, a guy that breaks that many slates, especially in this matchup. Although he did break a slate against the Rangers already this year, so I get it. But again, the whole team is priced up around him. With Hayton now at 5,100, he started like 3K. Schmaltz is 5,700. It just gets really difficult. And then, at the end of the day, are you not playing Sergachev here? Which again, it's like he's been pretty solid. Rates wise, the points have been hit or miss. It kind of feels like you're paying into something that unnecessary. I like the Ottawa side more, especially.
And are you not going to play Gunther, who has 7 shot attempts a game?
I know.
And is just doing everything. Like,
I mean, you could just play Gunther Sergachev, honestly, if you're doing things.
That you could. All right.
That's
Let's
an option
keep going.
here. But yeah, we can move over to the most important game of the night. The I believe 5th best record. Calgary Flames play. I think Pittsburgh's bad actually. This feels like a situation you're going to try to talk me into playing Pittsburgh.
I would like to, but it's probably just going to be like a, last guy in Carlson or something for me versus like going out of my way to stack Crosby and Rust. Like that doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah.
Last game, I don't think I updated this what they did last game. It was Puljujärvi up with Gino and Raquel, and Bunting was like a scratch. So, who the hell knows what they're doing? They lost. So not expecting anything fun to come of that, but it's at least worth noting. Maybe it was the doc. I don't know. Who cares? Malkin is ticking. That he seems fine for 6,200. I just don't know if I would stack him with anything. So yeah, like again, I think Calgary sucks, but like maybe that just means I play Blomqvist or Jari or Nedeljkovic. Like so. Yeah, it just not a lot of fun.
I don't know if there's any merit.
Pittsburgh.
I don't think I'm not sure if there's any merit to this, and maybe it's just something in my brain that for some reason 2 neurons fire at the same time. But the last game, Ottawa, Utah, and Pittsburgh, and the Flames are essentially dead pick'ems with 6.5 totals. For some reason, I'm always drawn to those, just thinking like through the way the game gets there, and like you're kind of saying like this is going to be competitive. This is going to be high scoring, meaning that the top guys should see more run in theory. And I mean, the books can be wrong. And of course, games don't always go as the book describes them, but the books are normally generally pretty correct or they would be out of business. So I do look at these games with a little bit more of a keen eye. I think the Ottawa Utah game offers more of what I'm looking for than this one. I don't know how you successfully stack Pittsburgh, to be honest, because Crosby's just frankly hasn't been that good, but Brian Rust has, and it's kind of weird, but I just don't think I'm going to do it. And then you go to the other side and it's like, well, how do you do it with the Flames then? It also doesn't feel that good. So I don't know. I'm interested here. I just don't know how I would do it. Again, just play like Malkin and that's it. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? We'll figure it out tomorrow. It was fine. But I'm just going to keep going because this is a professional enterprise in Calgary. You might have told me we got Calgary lines and I didn't look at them. So maybe this is right. Maybe this isn't. Matt Coronado exists to steal my soul. So like if Kadri, Kuzmenko, Coronado somehow gets chalk, then by all means. But the D-men have been really priced up in Uyghur and Anderson because they've been just chucking to start the year. And of course they've been blocking a bunch of shots. But yeah, I don't know. This team just doesn't strike me as the most fun. So do you have any interest in any of these stacks here?
That all looks correct, by the way, in case you're wondering. That looks good to me.
Why change anything when you're the best? Why change anything when you're the best team in the league? I
know it. To me, again, it's like we just talked about like 3 players that are cheaper than Mackenzie Weegar that are basically playing like Mackenzie Weegar, except Mackenzie Weegar got priced up and they didn't.
He's power play
nothing. And I mean, again, like I don't know if anybody has been priced up like Rasmus Anderson has either. Like that guy, well, actually, he started 5,100. Sheesh. But these guys are great rates players that you could mix in if you're stacking the Flames. But again, I don't think I'm stacking the Flames. Like, and if you are stacking the Flames, it's probably, I don't know. I really don't even know. I just don't think I'm doing it. I'm not.
Tyson Barrie
doing it. So it's cheap. But
last game, Tyson Barrie played power play 2.
It looked like
he's paired with Uyghur and is
He's not.
18.
He's not. That is wrong.
Sorry, what?
It is Uyghur and Miramonov.
They said Barry's still practicing with
And
the second power play unit, so I don't know.
so Bean and
Is that
Patchell are out, and Hanley and Barry. It was
oh,
Ball,
maybe.
Anderson, Uyghur, Miramonov, Hanley, Barry,
Yeah, okay,
and then
whatever.
Bean and Patchell or Packle or
Who
whatever you say his name. I don't know.
Paul? Yeah, who the hell knows? Okay, so maybe don't play Tyson Barry.
Yeah.
Okay, glad we got to the bottom of this one. San Jose, we got confirmation that Celebrini's nowhere close to returning, which means the lines are who the hell knows. Yeah,
That looks about right.
this is what they did last game, and it was not very good because they didn't score on Colorado, who everyone scores on. Well, I guess technically Eklund did, but everyone else does not tend to score on Colorado. And let's see, was that right? Power plays, whatever. Who cares?
They
it's
scored
just
on the power play, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, that's probably
I can look.
wrong.
I will look.
I just I think it's safe to say, even against Anaheim, this San Jose team is far too expensive to be interesting. So yeah, unless we get some changes due to that loss, like Will Smith moving into the top line or something, I'm not interested.
By the way, it was not Zetterland. Yes, Wemberg.
Awesome. What
Zetterland PB2 with Gushkin, someone named Jay Thompson,
Jordan Thompson, my boy,
Will Smith, and Kunin. So I know you were pretty close with what you had up there before.
Is Jordan Thompson a golfer? Did I just make that up?
I remember looking at him because it seemed like he was going to be on the second power play based on something, and I was like, "This is a made-up player."
He's a tennis player, Jordan Thompson is. Let's see. Jay Thompson Sharks. What is your guess on what his actual name is?
Oh, I just said it out loud. So
he was in the
I did, yeah, I was looking at it.
He was in the trade with Duclair, right? Yeah, I think so. Whatever. Who cares?
I don't know.
Okay, look at that. Minimum salary and Tampa draft pick.
He played 16 minutes
in the AHL. Okay. Great. Glad we got to the bottom of that one, too. Speaking of unmitigated disasters, the Anaheim Ducks, folks. We have no idea what's going on there. Vetrano missed practice. This is all a complete mess. Do not take these lines for gospel. Just check them tomorrow. Hopefully we get a better update. We also don't know if Zellweger's playing. So yeah, I'm just going to say just don't play anyone in this game and be far happier as a result, because guess what? This game is at what time? 10:15. And if you're sitting here at 9:52, like, okay, well, it's time to just don't. It's not worth it. Just enjoy your night of hockey and don't play players in this godforsaken game.
Yeah, it's, I mean, I do think, and I've said this, and I'm going to say it again, and I may have said it on the podcast already, but everybody in the world was like, oh, you like Michkov so much? Torts is going to torts him. And unfortunately for everyone that has Cutter Gauthier bags, Cronin is Cronining him. And like, I truly think that this is the worst coach in the league right now. Like, I don't know how you could argue against me. He is making, like, sometimes they're like, oh, like, you need that coach that's going to kind of be that, like, stepping stool to the next level. And I think they're like, we'll get a hardo coach that's going to, like, make them angry and mad and frustrating and bench players and this and that. We got to teach them because the GM is also seemingly like a donkey that's into that stuff. And it's like, this team is irrelevant in fantasy, like, is the problem. I'm not even sure if they're going to be better or worse record-wise. They're not a playoff team. They're not even going to probably be close. But man, they are going to be the most frustrating team in all of fantasy because you are just going to every night see random garbage for no reason, and you'll never know. And you'll try to look back and find it, and you'll be like, "Oh, nope, I don't know. I just have no idea."
I could not agree more. So we're just not even going to get into the specifics. And if you don't play these guys, it doesn't matter. We just don't have to figure it out. So let's get to the last game of the night. LA at Vegas.
No one's even been good on Anaheim.
Well, okay. Slow down, sir. Cutter Gauthier is still the GOAT.
Name one good player.
Mason McTavish.
All right. Who has the most? I have not pulled it up yet. The most shot attempts on Anaheim per game, most I-Corsi per game.
It's going to be
I'm
Vetrano.
trying to pull it up. It does look to be the case. What do you think that number is?
Like 6.
5.5. And no one else is even at 5. Like, there's just nothing here to get it. Oh, Cutter's 5.4, actually. So Cutter is the only. It's like, play Cutter, Grote, or don't. He's not even on the top power play, it seems like. It's just moving on.
Yeah. LA Vegas. Vegas seems like they will not be getting Carlson back. I think you saw an update on him. Was it week to week or what? Or no, Olsen was
he
week
practiced
to week
in like a non-contact.
Yes, that's right. So we're not expecting Carlson back.
But they confirmed
the depth here,
not back.
The depth here is toasted. You mentioned that Vegas is one of the, I think over the weekend, which by the way, if you want betting stuff, DJ signed up for Dub Club. So check his Twitter out. You can sign up there. It's free. If you want it to be, you can chip in $5 for the year or whatever. And maybe he had something, but there's nothing premium to it. So there's your little plug for you.
I've gotten enough people to sign up that I'm now starting to feel obligated. I'm gonna have to add something. But thank you to anyone listening that's done that. You absolutely didn't have to, but now I'm up to like 15 paying people or something. I was like, no one's even gonna do this, but I'll just put it up there and thank you.
What are you gonna do with that $75 for the year? Yeah, there you go.
Straight to the Michkov jersey fund.
Anyway, the Vegas side is super weak depth-wise. You had a stat that you posted there over the weekend that they were one of the worst 5-on-5 Corsi teams in the league, which, you wouldn't really suspect because they've been fine out of the gate.
Worst.
Yeah. And I don't think it got better against Florida, but maybe I'm wrong. And really. The Eichel power play stuff has just been, nuking, which is why they've been respectable. So they've made a lot of changes throughout their lineup. The top line remains intact, but like Theodore's now back with McNabb at 5-on-5, which probably means he's playing his off wing. If you care about that sort of stuff, I kind of do. He might shoot a little bit more as a result. But yeah, otherwise it's pretty much top line or bust. And maybe Dorfy of 3,300 power play 1. Definitely a good rates player that you can fit in there. But that makes me pretty interested in this LA side just on a whim. We've still got 4,700 Brandt Clark, who was like 15% on a 2-game slate against Anaheim last slate. This dude's going to be like 1% owned. I don't see it. Again, he's one of the best per minute guys in the league last year. He just put up the freaking combo meal for us. 6 shots and 4 blocks last night, actually. Didn't get a point and still smashed. Like this dude just does it all. So DJ, any thoughts on building around Brandt Clark or any Vegas thoughts?
It's you can, and because Vegas is very bad. The lineup you have here, if it does stick, which I assume it will, means that Eichel will probably see the Danault line.
Yeah, this is not right. I did not update it yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was. Wasn't it more? It's okay. Give me 2 seconds here. Yep. Because they didn't have practice. It was Fiala, Danault, Moore. So that will be the line that will see the bulk of the Eichel minutes and the Stone minutes. And for that reason, you can call me the Kempe boy. And it was Kempe with Byfield and Kopitar. Leferrier did score and is still on the top power play. So an option, not Byfield still, because I don't know. And why play the guy, I guess, on the top power play, but that you said is going to be your number 1 center of the future. I guess it doesn't really matter. But again, I think I'm stacking through Kempe and Clark. It just makes quite a bit of sense. I think in every capacity, it's going to be, it's not the only way to, I'm not saying it's like wrong to do anything else. Of course, you can play however you want, but in 17 minutes, absolutely nuked. And I think he could see even, hopefully more minutes in a game that stays more competitive. Like when you're leading, you just play Gurikov and Edmondson and Mikey Anderson. But in a game that hopefully is at least a little bit competitive, you can actually let Clark go and the guy double bonused in 17 minutes. So let's see what he can do in 20.
Yippers.
Love the play. You can even just do him and Kempe. Like no problem. No red flags on my end.
For sure. That is exactly what I was going. Or him and Fiala, or him and Laferriere. I mean, that third line played well, really well. Turcotte might be an actual player. Finally, he also. I mean, we've talked about guys with pedigree. He was a 5th overall pick in 2019, and also dealt with injuries very similar to Gabe Velarde. Um, and like just might have taken him a bit. So I'm willing to bet on it a little bit. And again, 4,400 for LaFerriere, top power play. He's shooting whenever he can. So like I don't mind the mini stack. But yeah, Brant Clark is just a priority for me, regardless of how it goes. Was there anything else on Vegas you wanted
I
to
like.
discuss, or are we good?
I mean, you have Dorofeyev highlighted like at 3,300. I think you could like. I don't see it's just a discernible difference between him and Olofsson in any capacity, other than now Dorofeyev is in Olofsson's spot in the power play. So if you were into Olofsson at the same price, you can be into Dorofeyev at the same price. They're both goal scoring type of players. But again, I think my entire situation on this game, or not situation, my stance on this game is that the LA Kings are actually good and they should win games and they should perform well. And Vegas has not been very good because they're missing a ton of players and they don't have a lot of depth. And people will not be playing the LA Kings tomorrow. So I will, call me the guy that's playing the LA Kings and Pedersen and the Nashville Predators because that's the guy I will be tomorrow.
Okay.
Anyways,
I
top
I
stacks
will
by
not be
chance.
calling. I will not be calling you that, but in any case, yeah, we can get to top
It's
stacks and
change my contact in the phone to that.
okay, can do. Um, yeah, where's your head at after these 13 games?
Pedersen, Quinn Hughes, Garland.
Okay, okay. Let's
I will
see.
see you at the bottom.
Oh boy,
Man,
what a slate! I'm
the
gonna go
Pedersen hat
with
trick to win 20K is going to be so sweet.
yeah, I'm gonna go with Carolina. I mean, Carolina one just feels way too cheap going against Edmonton. So Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis, though I do not mind at all replacing Jarvis with Nachos to save 900, or just playing Gostisbehere at 4,400. So let's do Svechnikov, Aho, and Marty Nachos. Get a little bit spicy here. Maybe you need that $900 to upgrade your goalie, or get a stack in there that you just couldn't afford otherwise.
I do like it quite a bit.
Oh, DJ Freeze.
Oh, yeah,
All right, you
I froze.
froze.
Do you hear
What
me
was your
now?
stack? Yep.
Forsberg, Yossi, and Stamkos.
Okie doke. All right, let's do Josh Norris, Drake Batherson, and Jake Sanderson. Another nice little mid-tier stack that doesn't break the bank whatsoever.
I do like it. Actually, I love it.
Thank
Just
you.
trying to see
Thank
if
you.
my lineup actually fits, but this is probably something better for not being live. To try to build your lineup. Uh, Normally they say that's bad etiquette, but I guess my last point of all of this is like if you're taking this for betting advice, I will say that like we gave a lot of like this is the median, this is about like like I'm not saying bet Pedersen to score, bet Pedersen to score two, bet like if you're betting on Pedersen it's in DFS tomorrow. Like that's where your best $15 could be spent, in my opinion. Like that's the best angle on him is because he is uber talented and can and do those things as you'd like him to do. Um, okay, guaranteed goals. All this to say that there are other players like these guaranteed goal players, which I think are just better in that vacuum. And hopefully we'll check prices tomorrow and find some good ones. I said last week, no matter what, that I was going to write them down and I was going to bet them. And I, again, didn't do it. So I'm writing them down this time. Matt, who do you got?
All right. I'm going to grab Ross Colton, 5,500, smack dab in the middle of the pricing structure.
And he will be on FanDuel, have him at like 20 or about 22 to 1, Jesus. Plus 220. And it's just going to be like cool. Like this is great.
Okay.
I'll go higher, lower than give me I guess give me William Nylander. I think he already scored today, but I mean, this guy is just, I think he's on another level, and it just hasn't all come together yet. I think it's a bit line mate dependent, but I really do think that like he is, he has 50 plus goal upside in him for sure, and he just hasn't been priced that way on the books. So yeah, give me Nylander, and he's definitely the number 2 on that power play for like who they want shooting the puck at the goalie.
Certainly. So yeah, I like that. For my second one, I am going to, well, again, stick right in that 55-ish 100 range. I'm going to try to capitalize on the Duclair injury a little bit by playing Kyle Palmieri. I think he moves up to the top unit. He was out there in the 4-on-3 power play, I believe, at the end of overtime in that last game. So, I like Siplikov. I like Brock Nelson. Kyle Palmieri is fine, and I just think he might get a bit of a role increase in a matchup that we love to target against the stinky Detroit Red Wings.
What'd you call them? Okay. Yeah, that's probably good. Let me give a bad one. I'm going to it. I haven't used it yet. This is the time we all get right on Cutter Gauthier. After saying how much I hate the Ducks.
Oh man,
he's gonna be like
he's there
like 3.5, 4-1 against the Sharks.
All right,
he just sits there every night, and we're all gonna get there. We're all gonna be
That's how we head into the frozen frenzy, where DJ just gets frenetically angry at Greg Cronin when Cutter Gauthier gets benched in the first period.
You will not hear someone yelling Cronin as much other than watching a Cronenberg movie. And I will be yelling Cronin tomorrow.
We are going to get out of here. DJ's got hockey to get to. He's got to go Cutter Gauthier some pucks into the net.
I'll be scared of them. I'll be playing defense for sure. But
all right. Well, maybe Cutter Gauthier
I'll try
will
my
not
best.
be doing that. But anyway, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Morningscape Pod. I am at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJ_Mitchell94. Sign up to the Dub Club. That is linked in the description of this podcast. Note to self, do that. And also in DJ's Twitter profile.
Do that for the video.
Yeah. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter as well. In the holster, I'm going to work on how to use HockeyViz, or how I use HockeyViz for like DFS purposes, since it's not just a projection site or anything like that. It's something totally different. So I'm writing some thoughts on like how to implement that if you're curious. And you see a lot of us in the Discord using it. So I'm just going to write up that on the newsletter, and then also maybe some Slate previews, but certainly not Wednesday because there's only one game and I have not looked beyond that. So anything you want to say before we go, DJ?
No, thanks for following along this year so far. It's been a lot of fun. We've seen a lot of just new faces, new people, a lot more interaction, and it just feels like, I don't know, it feels good. Like it's fun. I know that like other podcasts sometimes talk about this. It's like, just being listened to and like respected is a good thing. So thank you. And hopefully we continue to see success from others that aren't us, because we've given out a lot of really good advice and haven't hit ourselves I hit one, but we haven't hit in a massive way yet. So I'm hoping that all of these good takes that other people seem to find the nuts with are going to come our way as well. So we can even back it up just a little bit more, because it's been a couple close calls, one, smaller, but big hit and nonetheless. So I'd love to see someone in the Discord, or if not us, take it down tomorrow.
Okay. Yes, I sure hope it's me. I've got a family to feed here. That'll do it. Thank you all for listening. From Doug, from DJ, from myself. Have a good frozen frenzy, everybody, and we will see ya.